Princess Lyria sat in her private chamber, staring out at the city of Vioria below. The tall towers shone in the pale blue sunlight, and flying vehicles hummed between them. The city was alive, full of people and technology. Yet Lyria felt completely alone. Her people had always treated her differently. Not because she was unkind, not because she lacked intelligence, but because she was physically disabled. Her legs could not support her fully, and she needed a mobility device to move around. In her alien society, strength and perfection were prized above all. Nobles with disabilities were rarely accepted, and Lyria, despite being a princess, was no exception. The other nobles whispered behind her back, avoided her in public, and some even mocked her secretly. Lyria had grown used to the isolation, but the pain of rejection never fully left her. Today was different. Today, a human visitor would arrive on Vioria. Humans were unusual on her planet. They were said to be resilient, curious, and unlike any other species in the galaxy. Most aliens saw humans as unpredictable, sometimes reckless. Lyria, however, felt a flicker of hope. Perhaps a human would see her not for her disability, but for who she truly was. Captain Alex Mercer walked down the landing ramp of the human transport. He was tall, with strong features and steady eyes. His uniform was simple, practical, unlike the ornate attire of the alien nobles, but it carried an air of confidence. He had been sent from Earth as part of a diplomatic mission to learn about Violoria's trade, culture, and technology. Humans were respected in some circles for their adaptability, but often misunderstood. The palace guard escorted him through the vast halls of the royal palace. Walls of shimmering metal reflected light in strange patterns, and intricate murals told the history of Valoria's rulers. Yet despite the grandeur, Alex's attention was on his mission. He had to meet the princess and ensure her safety during the official events. When Alex first saw Lyria, she was alone in the garden terrace, moving slowly but gracefully in her mobility device. Her long silver hair shimmered under the sunlight, and her large violet eyes were full of intelligence and quiet sadness. "Princess Lyria?" Alex asked politely, bowing slightly in the human manner. "Yes, I am Lyria," she replied, her voice soft but firm. She studied him carefully. "You are the human who has come from Earth." "Yes," Alex said, smiling. "I hope to learn about your world and to meet its people, and most importantly, to ensure you are safe during the events." There was no hint of fear or hesitation in his tone. Lyria felt a strange warmth in her chest. Most aliens treated her with pity or cold politeness, but this human, he treated her like she mattered. Over the next few hours, Alex accompanied Lyria through the palace. The nobles were gathered for a formal gala that evening, and the princess was expected to attend. Lyria noticed the glances, the whispers, the subtle recoiling when she moved past. Alex noticed them too, but he did not react. He asked her about the palace gardens, the history of the murals, and even the rare plants she cultivated. Lyria was surprised by his genuine curiosity. "You know a lot about this place," she said, a small smile forming. "I try to learn," Alex replied. "Every world has something to teach us, and every person has a story worth hearing." The words touched her more than she expected. She had spent years feeling invisible, but here was someone who truly saw her. As evening approached, a warning alarm sounded through the palace. A security system malfunction had trapped several rooms, including parts of the garden terrace and hallways where guests were gathering. Panic spread among the nobles. Many froze, unsure what to do. Some even whispered that the princess should stay back. Her mobility device made her too slow to be safe. But Alex acted immediately. "Stay close to me," he said. "I'll get you out safely." Lyria hesitated for only a moment before trusting him. Together, they navigated the twisting corridors and malfunctioning security doors. Alex used a combination of tools and quick thinking, disabling the locks and clearing paths. Lyria, though nervous, guided him using her knowledge of the palace's layout. During the escape, one of the corridors partially collapsed. Debris fell, threatening to trap Lyria. Without hesitation, Alex shielded her with his body and lifted the heavier pieces of rubble. Lyria's heart pounded, not just from fear but from awe at his bravery. "Are you all right?" Alex asked, helping her to steady herself. "I am, thanks to you," she replied, her voice trembling slightly. Finally, they reached a safe area. The nobles, seeing Alex's courage and Lyria's calm composure, began murmuring among themselves. Some looked ashamed that they had doubted her. Lyria, however, only focused on the human standing beside her. "You didn't have to risk yourself for me," she said quietly. "I did," Alex said simply. "Because you're important, Princess. Not because of rules or status, but because you are you." Those words echoed in Lyria's mind. She'd never heard anyone say something like that to her. Not a noble, not a servant, not anyone. She felt a strange sense of hope growing inside her. As the gala resumed, Alex stayed near her side, not out of obligation but choice. He engaged her in conversation, asking questions about her favorite books, her interests in alien technology, and even her dreams for the future. Lyria realized how easy it was to talk to him. For the first time, she felt seen, truly seen. Some nobles continued to whisper and glance at them suspiciously. Some were amazed that a human would care so much for a princess considered weak or unworthy. Others, however, started to wonder if perhaps they had misjudged Lyria all along. By the end of the evening, Lyria felt a new kind of confidence. She still faced challenges and prejudice, but she no longer felt entirely alone. The human had shown her that there was someone willing to see her beyond her disability, someone willing to treat her with respect, courage, and care. As Alex prepared to return to his quarters, Lyria found herself hesitating. "Captain Mercer, will you stay a little longer tomorrow? There are parts of the palace you have not seen and I could use a guide." Alex smiled, his eyes warm. "I would be honored, Princess. Tomorrow we explore the rest of Valoria together." That night, Lyria lay in her chamber thinking about the human who had risked everything for her. She realized something profound. Perhaps being different was not a weakness. Perhaps it was a chance for someone to see her truly, for someone to bond with her in a way that mattered more than tradition, more than power, more than appearances. For the first time in her life, Lyria felt a spark of hope, a spark that maybe, just maybe, she would not be alone forever, and somewhere deep in her heart, she began to wonder what it would mean to truly have someone care for her, not because she was a princess, but because she was herself. The next morning, Princess Lyria awoke feeling a mixture of excitement and nervousness. Last night had changed something inside her. She had spent years feeling invisible, ignored by her own people, but now a human had seen her, not her disability, not her royal status, but her. She wondered what today would bring. Alex arrived at the palace just as the sun began to rise. His uniform was tidy, and his eyes carried the same steady warmth that had drawn Lyria's trust yesterday. "Good morning, Princess," he said. "Shall we explore the palace?" Lyria smiled. "Yes, but we must be careful. There are still parts of the palace under maintenance. Some areas are restricted." Together they walked through the palace corridors, through vast libraries filled with floating holographic texts and laboratories humming with advanced machinery. Alex asked questions, fascinated by how different this world was from Earth. Lyria shared her knowledge freely, explaining the history behind inventions, the stories in the murals, and the secret passages she had discovered as a child. "You really know your home well," Alex said. "I think you could teach the whole galaxy about Valoria if you wanted." Lyria laughed softly. "Maybe one day, but not many care to learn from a princess who cannot walk on her own." Alex's gaze was firm. "I care. And I think others will too, if they see what I see." That day the palace received alarming news. A rogue faction from the outskirts of the planet had infiltrated the energy grid controlling the city. Power fluctuations were spreading quickly, threatening the floating districts and their residents. Panic gripped the nobles, and many considered hiding behind guards rather than acting. But Lyria did not hesitate. She turned to Alex. "We have to stop this. I know the palace systems." "We can do it," Alex nodded. "Then we do it together." They entered the main control hub of the palace. The room was vast, filled with glowing panels and flickering holographic maps. Red warnings flashed across the screens, showing the energy disruption spreading through the city. Lyria quickly identified the areas that needed attention, guiding Alex to override the failing circuits. Alex worked with steady hands, using human ingenuity to reroute power and patch vulnerabilities. Lyria moved around him, issuing instructions and using her own technological knowledge. They complemented each other perfectly. Lyria's deep understanding of her world, Alex's quick problem-solving and adaptability. Hours passed and the situation grew more intense. Some energy nodes were critical. Failure could cause entire sections of the city to collapse. Lyria's device began to beep, warning of overloads. Sweat ran down Alex's forehead, but neither of them stopped. Almost there, Lyria whispered, focusing on a critical junction. Alex tightened his grip on the console. We can do this. Trust me. Finally, with a coordinated effort, they restored the main energy core. Light stabilized, holographic warnings disappeared, and the city systems returned to normal. Citizens below cheered as power returned to homes and streets. The nobles who had doubted Lyria now watched her with astonishment. She had led the effort, using her intelligence and courage to save thousands of lives. Alex looked at her, admiration clear in his eyes. You did it, princess. You saved your city. Lyria felt a rush of pride and relief. She realized that her value was not in how strong or perfect she appeared, but in her mind, her courage, and her willingness to act. And Alex had believed in her from the start. Later in the palace gardens, Lyria and Alex sat quietly. The sky was painted in shades of violet and gold. She turned to him. Alex, why did you risk everything for me? You didn't have to be here. I did, Alex replied simply. Because you deserve it. Because you matter. And because sometimes someone has to see the person behind the title. Her chest tightened. No alien noble had ever said such words to her. She felt a connection forming, stronger than anything she had ever known. Over the next days, their bond grew. Alex remained at her side, attending diplomatic meetings with her, exploring her city, and even helping her navigate social challenges with the other nobles. Lyria began to see that trust and respect were as powerful as any physical ability. One afternoon, the High Council of Vailoria approached Lyria. They had been watching the events and the way the citizens reacted. Princess, the council leader said, your actions have shown courage and wisdom. Perhaps we have judged you too harshly. Lyria stood tall, her device steady under her hands. I have always done what I could. I may be different, but that does not make me weak. The council nodded, and some began to murmur agreement. Alex squeezed her hand gently, silently showing support. That evening, the palace held a ceremonial event, the traditional bonding ceremony, reserved for trusted partners chosen by the princess. It was a sacred ritual in which a bond was formed between two beings, solidifying mutual respect, trust, and care. Traditionally, the ceremony was limited to aliens of noble blood. Lyria looked at Alex. Her heart raced. He had shown bravery, kindness, intelligence, and unwavering respect for her. He had seen her as more than a princess, more than a disability, more than society's judgment. I want to bond with you, she said quietly, her violet eyes meeting his steady gaze. Alex smiled warmly. And I would be honored, Lyria. The ceremony began in a quiet hall adorned with glowing crystals and flowing streams of light. Lyria and Alex faced each other. The High Council chanted softly, and energy from the crystals connected them in a radiant web of light. As the bond was sealed, Lyria felt a warmth she had never known. It was not just the energy of the crystals, but the connection to someone who truly cared for her. She felt seen, understood, and valued. The nobles watched in silence. Some were astonished that a human could be chosen for such a sacred ritual. Others began to realize that true worth was not determined by strength or appearance, but by courage, kindness, and loyalty. When the ceremony ended, Lyria stood beside Alex, proud and unafraid. Together they had broken barriers and shown that bonds could transcend species, expectations, and prejudice. The city of Vailoria glowed under the night sky, and Lyria felt hope fill her heart. She was no longer just the princess who could not walk. She was a leader, a hero, and someone who had been seen for who she truly was. And beside her was a human who had shown her that love, courage, and compassion could change even the most rigid societies. Alex turned to her, his hand brushing hers gently. Whatever comes next, we face it together. Lyria nodded, her heart full. Together. And for the first time in her life, the princess felt completely free. Free to be herself. Free to lead. Free to love.